Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it KTN News here on KTN Business Today with me, Abi Agena. Well, like I told you, we are now to get into matters with the film industry. And I'm now joined by Ndiritu Muridhi, who is an economist as well as a man who wears a number of hats. Perhaps I might not have all the time to describe him, but he'll be talking to us about financing the film industry. Many thanks, Maheshimiwa, for making time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So let's just kick it off. We're finding a lot of Kenyan young people are so talented. They want to try out matters to do with the film industry, but there's that huge challenge around financing. Perhaps just walk us through what you are doing under your entity in terms of getting funding for films to be done in Kenya.
Well, thank you very much, Abi. And yes, you're right. I am an economist. And the reason I'm sitting with you here today, I am advisor to the Pan-African Federation of Filmmakers, which is an apex body of filmmakers from all African countries. And the reason or the work that I'm doing with them is to look at how to get more financing to filmmakers, both in Kenya, but of course in other African countries as well.
Okay.
The big question as to why not just film, but the whole audiovisual and cinema sector is not attracting as much funding as it should, is that up to now, it hasn't been seen for its commercial attractiveness.
That's true.
People talk about it in terms of entertainment and so on.
Yeah.
But across Africa, led in fact by government of Kenya, governments are beginning to look at this sector because of the kinds of jobs it creates. Because it's a very interesting sector. It is using technology and it is about creativity. So the two things that are most attractive to young people. So as governments are looking at how to create more jobs for young people, they are finding this sector quite attractive. Of course, it has many other benefits in terms of communicating, in terms of imaging, presenting the image of Africa, presenting the image of Kenya. You saw recently the president talking about how we project ourselves as Kenya to every corner of this continent. And audiovisual and cinema is certainly one key way in which, one key tool for that projection.
All right.
So now we are beginning to bring financial institutions together, insurance companies and other players,
Yeah.
to take a keener interest in financing this sector.
All right. And perhaps, Ndiritu, have you been able to do an assessment of perhaps what shortfall the industry currently has? Do you have a figure you are working with as a target, perhaps?
Yes, we have. Just recently, together with the African Union Commission, we concluded a study of the sector, both in Kenya and on the continent. Incidentally, it's a sector that is worth about $7 billion in terms of its contribution to GDP to the continent. In Kenya, it is contributing something like $70 million to GDP, so about 7 billion shillings to GDP. It is estimated that this sector can employ well in excess of 150,000 people just here in Kenya.
All right.
We found that it has a very good multiplier. Well, you'll pardon the economist in me, but economists, we tend to look at when you spend a shilling here, what is the impact of that shilling across the economy? And this sector has a very big multiplier. Because remember, when you're making a movie or a documentary or whatever, it is not just what is happening, like say when I'm sitting in front of you, there are people behind the cameras, there are people running logistics.
Of course.
These are a whole lot of things that happen. So it is a sector with a very high economic multiplier. And I should hasten to add, Kenya, in fact, is playing host to perhaps the first of its kind conference on how to finance film. And this is going to be happening here in Nairobi in October.
Awesome.
The Africa Film Finance Summit will be taking place in Upper Hill at the Radisson, October 13th and 14th. And I really encourage filmmakers and everybody and bankers to, because this is a forum bringing together those who are financing film around the world to showcase how they do it, so that our sector here can
pick lessons from that.
pick lessons, and of course filmmakers who are there can make the right connections and get their movies financed.
Perfect. We do hope to see this coming to fruition. Many thanks.
Well, it is my pleasure.
Nirito Murithi, who is an economist, and he was just sharing with us some of the initiatives that Kenya is looking to sort of push forward when it comes to funding of film in the country, which continues to be an interesting subject for discussion, where a majority of the young people are quite interested in matters to do with film.